All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachah HaKodash. Double honors to my other apostles of great millstone, and peace and salutations to the hopeful members of the elect, the Bacharim of the house of David that has been preordained, predestined to get delivered in these last end times and to be the ruling, governing body of the nation of Yasha'Allah, which consists of Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and we have been scattered throughout the world. So you may look like a heathen, but if your lineage goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that makes you an Israelite, regardless of your appearance. Now, I want to go into a World War III update. All right, things are getting hectic. Things are boiling up again, and this is spoken of already in Matthew, the 24th chapter, which I will get, how we shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, okay? But the end is not yet. So these are just wars and rumors of wars. You know, nothing is going to happen yet, all right? It's just part of the story, and things are getting heated, all right? It's part of prophecy, all right? Once we see the implementation and the mandation of the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip, a microchip, then World War III will soon vastly approach right after, okay? So until then, nothing's really going to pop off like that. Or you're going to have, minor wars, which you're already seeing in some places throughout the world, but not on a large world scale, okay? So let's play this, because Joe Biden, senile Joe, did it again. And they're saying how this dude should not be in the office and he needs to be impeached, okay? And so, hey, Trump might come to office sooner than what we think. We just have to wait and see. But let's play this.
To strike targets deep inside Russia.
Until now, Mr. Biden has been reluctant to give permission because of concerns about the conflict escalating. Our correspondent David Willis reports now from Washington.
The US President Joe Biden has authorized Ukraine to use American long-range missiles.
So the US has authorized Ukraine, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, his bacon ass, to use US weapons, all right? U.S. military long-range missiles, okay? And Putin, he's like, if this goes on, then, which I'm gonna let him speak. I'm gonna let him say it, because I got that. But he's making threats, nuclear war, all right? So let me get the scripture real quick, all right? And I'll play that video. Matthew 24, verse 14. Actually, verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. These are rumors, okay? It's World War III trending daily now on major social media platforms, Twitter. That's all I see when I go in there. World War III, or I go on the Alex Jones show, I go on his website, all right? And it's trending, okay? Just like 2 years ago when Russia invaded Ukraine. Why? Because Ukraine once belonged to Russia, okay? It was a newly incorporated nation, I believe, until 1991. That's when it became a sovereign nation. But prior, it was part of Russia. Okay? So Putin's like, nah, we're going to take this back. Ezekiel 38, the Lord's putting the hooks into their jaws to bring them back into that Soviet Union mindset again. Okay? When Russia was a powerhouse. Okay? Not on the scale of America, but Russia is a nation you don't want to mess with either. All right. So see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right. We're at the end, but it's not yet. The true end will be thermonuclear missiles being launched and hitting America simultaneously, while Yahweh Shai and the host of the holy angels are already arrived on earth, beaming up the elect, okay? But before that, destroying those nations destroying those armies over there of these different nations and the land of Saudi Arabia, or I don't want to say Saudi Arabia, but so-called Middle East. The reason why I said Saudi Arabia, because the land that's barren and desolate, spoken of in Joel, the 2nd chapter, that is in that Arabian region. Okay, but the Middle East, so-called Middle East, West Asia, okay, that's gonna be the hot zone of World War World War III. You see, Armageddon. All right, the Valley of Troops. The Lord's gonna destroy them. Those laser beams from the chariots, then beam up the elect throughout the 4 corners of the earth. Simultaneously, those missiles would have been shot already, and America will be destroyed, all right? A nuclear fire. So let's go back.
To strike targets deep inside Russia.
Until now, Mr. Biden has been reluctant to give permission because of concerns about the conflict escalating. Our correspondent David Willis reports now from Washington.
The aftermath of the latest missile attack on Ukraine, Russia's largest in months. This, the city of Sumy, near the Russian border, after a missile hit a residential area, killing 10 people and injuring many more. As President Biden arrived in Rio for the G20 summit, reports emerged of new U.S. measures to help Ukraine defend itself. Authorization from the outgoing leader for the use of long-range American...
Biden basically gave the okay. And that's an act of war. All right, Putin is looking at this like now the U.S. is involved somehow, some way. Okay? Because Ukraine used their military weapons. It was authorized. All right?
Made guided missiles capable of striking deep into Russian territory. Potentially a significant development in the conflict, and one President Zelensky has been calling for months.
Today, many in the media say that we have received permission to take appropriate actions. But strikes are not made with words. Such things are not announced. The missiles will speak for themselves. Definitely.
President Biden's decision
Literal comedian.
followed the arrival last month of around 10,000 North Korean special forces sent to help Russia reclaim territory lost to Ukraine in the Kursk region. President Biden's decision followed the arrival last month of around 10,000 North Korean special forces.
10,000 North Korean soldiers are united with the Russian military. And they're helping in this war that's going on over there between Russia and Ukraine.
To help Russia reclaim territory lost to Ukraine in the Kursk region of eastern Russia. Known as ATACMS, these U.S. Army tactical missile systems have a range of almost 200 miles and are difficult to intercept because they travel at such high speeds. President Biden is keen to do all he can to help Ukraine in the little time he has left in office. He'd resisted authorizing the use of American long-range missiles up to now for fear of antagonizing Russia. But with winter to help Ukraine in the little time he has left in office, he'd resisted authorizing the use of American long-range missiles up to now for fear of antagonizing Russia. But with winter approaching and Russia advancing, retaining territory taken in the east could provide Ukraine with a bargain.
So at first he resisted, for the fear of antagonizing Russia, but now he gave the okay. Why? Ultimately, this is all, of the Lord, okay? The Lord is steering things, you see? And I heard talks, because Joe Biden is a senile puppet, but, there's talks of how right before Trump is going to come to office, you know, they do this as if it was like a shady tactic, you know. Nevertheless, it's all from the Lord.
A chip in the event of future peace talks. David Willis, BBC News, Washington.
We can go live to Ukraine now, speak to our diplomatic correspondent Paul Adams, who joins us from Dnipro in the east of the country. Paul, how could these American missiles change the course of the war?
Well, I think we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. Will they change the course of the war? Probably not, but they are a significant new development, probably one of the most significant changes in US policy in the last year or so. Initially, we understand they are going to be used only in the Kursk region. That is the area inside Russia that Ukrainian forces have held since August. And I think it's an indication that Washington is happy to allow or to assist Ukraine to hold on to that territory, possibly ahead of peace negotiations sometime next year. What the attackers can do, we understand, they are going to be used only in the Kursk region. That is the area inside Russia that Ukrainian forces have held since August. And I think it's an indication that Washington is happy to allow or to assist Ukraine to hold on to that territory, possibly ahead of peace negotiations sometime next year. What the attackers can do is that they can attack targets deep inside Russia.
That's the name of the missile, ATACMS.
Kind of logistics and support facilities, possibly ahead of peace negotiations sometime next year. What the attackers can do is that they can attack targets deep inside Russia, the kind of logistics and support facilities that the Russians need to mount an effective counteroffensive in Kursk. It will.
Again, he just said those ATACMS missiles can disrupt Russia's logistics systems. Okay, let's go back. Actually, let's let him say.
Targets deep inside Russia, the kind of logistics and support facilities that the Russians need to mount an effective counteroffensive in Kursk. It will probably complicate their efforts and complicate.
They'll attack their logistics and Wait, what did he say? Let's go back one time.
Inside Russia, the kind of logistics and support facilities.
Logistics and support facilities. Okay.
That the Russians need to mount an effective counteroffensive in Kursk. It will probably complicate their efforts and complicate the use of the North Korean troops too, because this is a pretty fearsome weapon capable of doing a great deal of damage. And so I think the hope is that this will make it possible for the Ukrainians to cling on there in Kursk for the time being. The Ukrainians obviously hope that they will be able to use it more widely in the future, perhaps in other parts of the eastern front line. But it's worth bearing in mind that the Ukrainians don't have a huge number of these missiles, so they're going to have to use what they have pretty carefully. And the other thing that Pentagon officials have been pointing out for weeks now is that the Russian planes that carry the bombs, the glide bombs that do so much damage to the Ukrainian front line, those aircraft are now based well outside the range of the ATACMS, even further inside Russia. So it's unlikely that it'll have an effect on that side of the military campaign.
Paul, it's what coming.
Okay, so let's hear from Putin.
Turning overseas today, the Kremlin warned President Biden is adding fuel to the fire by allowing Ukraine to use long-range U.S. missiles that can strike targets inside Russia. The military calls the missiles ATACMS. One Russian lawmaker today said firing them over the border could lead to World War III. CBS's Holly Williams is in Ukraine tonight.
Ukraine's been using American-supplied ATACMS against Russian forces since last year. Some of the missiles have a range of close to 200 miles. Ukraine's been using American-supplied ATACMS against Russian forces since last year.
So why is this now a big problem, you know?
Missiles have a range of close to 200 miles. But before now, the US had refused the Ukrainians permission to hit targets inside Russia, concerned about an escalation in the conflict. Colonel Maxim Balagura of Ukraine's state.
So before they were using them, but now they're using them and targeting it inside of Russia. Okay? because when they were using them prior, it was still in the land of the Ukraine.
Border Guard hinted last month about what the Ukrainians could attack with the powerful US weapons. If the US would allow you to use ATACMS to hit Russia, what difference would that make? If the Russians don't have any ammunition or any planes, then manpower won't matter, he told us.
I want to hear from you.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed a revised nuclear doctrine, declaring that a conventional attack on Russia by any nation that is supported by nuclear power will be considered a joint attack on his country. Putin's endorsement of the new nuclear deterrent policy comes on the 1,000th day after he sent troops into Ukraine. It will be considered a joint attack on his country. Putin's endorsement of the new nuclear deterrent policy comes on the 1,000th day after he sent troops into Ukraine. It also follows U.S. President Joe Biden's decision to let Ukraine strike targets inside Russia with U.S.-supplied long-range missiles. The signing of the doctrine reflects Putin's...
It says, on the 1,000th day of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, wow, it's been 1,000 days now, President Vladimir Putin signed a revised nuclear doctrine declaring that a conventional attack on Russia by any nation that is supported by nuclear power will be considered a joint attack on his country. The decision follows U.S. President Joe Biden's decision to let Ukraine strike targets inside Russia with U.S.-supplied long-range missiles. Okay? It says Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that an attack on Russia's Bryansk region by Ukraine using U.S.-supplied ATACMS missiles was a clear signal that the West wanted to escalate the Ukraine conflict. Oh, yeah, so you guys want to escalate this shit? All right, bet. Basically, what Russia is saying. Like, we got something for your ass too. You know.
Readiness to threaten use of the country's nuclear arsenal to force the West to back down as Moscow presses a slow-moving offensive in Ukraine.
Вибачте, без зайвих деталей. У України.
There was a speech that Putin said, but I still read it. Nevertheless, he's saying, look, if this goes on, it's going to be some problems. In other words, all right. So, Joe Biden, look at this senile devil.
The Amazon is the lungs of the world. But in my view, our forests and national wonders are the heart and soul of the world. They unite us. They inspire us. They make us proud of our countries and heritage. A bridge to the past and to our future. A birthright we pass down from generation to generation. The Amazon rainforest was built up over 50 million years. 50 million years. History is literally watching us now. So let's preserve this secret place for our time and forever, for the benefit of all humanity. Thank you very, very much.
Jesus. Oh my God. Just through. But yeah. So Lord willing, this was edifying. Just a quick update, So with that, hey, shalom.